I'm Kieran, your course manager here at Hills, and I want to tell you about the journey we have planned over the next few years for our greens. Every golf course lives and dies by their greens. At the moment we have pretty reasonable greens, but who wants to putt in pretty reasonable greens? No one does. Everyone wants to putt in great greens. But we want to get you guys all on board that we're going to go from where we are now to great greens by June 2017. Now there's a sound every golfer loves to hear. Here at Hills we want to make the greens so good that this is going to be a regular occurrence. We've got 24 greens, 18 in the course, 4 up here in the practice area and 2 practice putting greens. They've all been built to USGA standards, which means they were built to the spec of the United States Golf Association. So here at the greens at Hills we have 2 different types of grasses. The darker green and predominantly we're creeping bent, we have a few little patches of poa. It's early in the year so it stands out a little bit more, but we're not getting too hung up about what kind of grass we have in the greens. If you look at the grand scheme of things, they blend well, they work well, so for us it's more about the playability of the golfer and getting the greens in good order. All the greens here at Hills have adequate drainage underneath them, which means they perform well when it rains. They also have good light coming into them. If there's any shades from trees, we maintain this. The greens are cut from 3 to 5 mil throughout the season, and during the growing period they get cut almost every single day. The increased maintenance we're doing on the greens this year will be done in such a manner that it has very little effect on golf play. Our overall target for the greens at Hills is for them to be firm, they should be the right speed and they should be honest, which means if you hit a putt on the right line it should stay true and it should go in the hole. I'm up here on number 2 green. I want to talk about some of the challenges we face here at Hills. We've got a couple of greens that we deem as problem greens. It's number 2 and also number 6. They both have similar problems. Over the back here, we felt a lot of the water was running down off the bank, so we've installed some new drains to try and combat that. Over again to my left here, through the back, we felt we had some light and some shade issues. So we've actually raised the canopy on the trees. There's going to be more light and more air comes through. So we've created a healthier environment for this green. We've done something very similar on hole number 6. Aside from this, we have another 7 greens that we deem to have issues. This would be, for example, the back of number 3, where it's a little bit thin, and say number 12, which is a new green, so it needs to just come on a little bit. Our main focus at the start of the season will be to bring all these greens up to scratch, and then we'll move forward from there. So I wanted to show you guys an example of a good green. We're here on number 1. It is still March, so this green isn't perfect, but we're confident by the start of the season this would be a good green. So why is this a good green? If you look across, it's uniform in colour, the grass growth is dense, and as I walk, I can feel under my feet that it's firm. What we want to do now is try and mimic this green on all 18 greens in the golf course. A subjective assessment of Hills greens at the moment would be as follows. The grass plant is too weak, it's not strong enough, so therefore the greens lack density. The greens are not firm enough and they're also not smooth enough. When it comes to speed, we're not at the speed we want to be and we lack consistency through all 18 greens. The greens roller is a tool we've used a lot in the past at Hills. What it does, it runs along the surface. Because of the weight in it, it levels out and irons out any indiscretions. It's a great tool, but it's only a short-term fix. The effects will only last a day or 2, and for us, it's very time-consuming. What we plan is to increase our maintenance regime in such a way that we can mimic what this does without actually using it. If we get truer and smoother greens, they will naturally become slightly faster. The ball will go along the surface without bouncing, so therefore increases in speed. To show how we're going to get there, we're going to have a look at what's going on beneath the surface. We're just going to take out a plug, and then we're going to have a closer look. So of the soil profile, most course managers are interested in the top 100 mil, as are we, but our main focus is the top 20 mil. That's where our challenges lie, and that's what we call our thatch layer. So when we're talking about thatch, why do we need it? We need it first of all for the ball, the impact it has on the green, but we also need it to hold some nutrients. The correct amount of thatch is say around 4 to 6%. At the moment we're around that number, we're around 4%, which is great. I'd say typically most golf courses in Sweden are a higher number. This means a lot of work and a lot of effort. For example, my last golf course in Scotland, we were around 15%, and after 3 years of really hard work, we got it down to 8. So for us to be at 4% just now, it's a really great start for the future. For us, our thatch layer is a little bit too brittle. So when a golf ball comes down, this is too soft. And unfortunately we get pitch marks far too easy. What we want to do, we want to make this thatch layer a little bit tighter and a little bit denser. What that will do, it means it will hold on to nutrients a little bit better, which will then make the grass stronger, which then means that it's denser, and it means that it takes the wear an awful lot better. So because the grass plant is a living, breathing thing, it needs the same as humans. So it needs air, and thankfully it needs water. So for us to get air into the ground, we would normally aerify and use a tine to get some oxygen into the roots. In the past we've used a tine, say like this, but because our thatch layer is a little bit too brittle, this is too severe. So going forward, we use a tine like this. We'll also use a product called liquid air, which gets oxygens into the root, so there'll be no disruption to play, and the grass will get the relevant air and oxygen it needs. If we can get our thatch layer a little bit tighter, it means our greens will become a little bit firmer. But this is not the only way to get the greens firmer. For us, we need to top dress regular. We started the 2015 season with a big top dress on all the greens, around 20 tonne for the 18. Last year we put out 175 tonnes. This year we aim to do it the same, just in a slightly different manner. The way we're going to do it, little and often, we'll just put a nice layer of sand along the surface, a smooth ball roll with very little effect in golf. Golfers have a common misconception that top dressing is bad for the greens. I believe it's the complete opposite. The misconception comes from putting on a lot of sand where the golfers then see it with their eyes, it goes into their heads, it's unnatural to them and they don't like it. So if we do it little and often, we'll smooth out any surfaces and we won't disrupt the golf play. We'll also fertilise the greens a little bit more often this year to encourage a stronger, denser growth. One thing we want to incorporate into our maintenance regime a little bit more this year is brushing the greens. Why we do this, we want the grass plant to try and stand up a little bit more, a bit like when you go to the hairdresser, they comb your hair up, come along with the scissors. That's exactly what our mowers are going to do behind. We did do this last year, but when we did it with quite a big machine that had to be towed behind a cart. The downside of this, it took an extra man to do and the grass got bruised slightly, so we didn't do it as often as we'd like. This year, we're changing things about a bit. We've got a new brush that goes in the front of the hand mowers, so basically it'll come along, the mowers will come behind, the grass will be stood up and a nice clean cut. It'll only take one guy, so it'll save a lot of time. The advantage of doing this, if we can get a nice clean cut in the grass will come back and grow stronger. It'll also give us a nice smooth surface for better greens. We're going to do the following processes to the greens at Hills to try and achieve great greens. We're going to brush them on a regular basis, and we're also going to increase our fertiliser to try and promote a stronger grass growth. When we talk about the surface, we're going to top dress every 7 to 10 days. This will make the surfaces firmer and will also make them smoother. When we talk about the thatch layer, we want to try and get it a little bit tighter so that it reacts correctly to the ball, but also holds the nutrients and promotes stronger grass growth. We will do this by doing clever aeration, which means we'll use a smaller pin and we'll also use some liquid oxygen down into the roots. We're going to use 3 different devices to monitor the quality of our greens here at Hills. We're going to use a parameter to give us a trueness and smoothness reading. We want this number to be as low as possible. We're going to use a cleg hammer to give us a firmness reading. For us at Hills, we want this to be around 90 to 100. Finally, we're going to use a stimp meter to get the pace of our greens. For our undulating greens, we want the speed to be around 9 to say 10.5, and we want the variance from green to green to be as small as possible. With the greens at Hills, first things first, we need to tackle the greens that have problems and issues. This is around 9 greens. By June 2015, we expect to have all these greens up to a similar standard as the rest of the greens on the golf course. This is around 80% of their full capacity. From June forward, we will then try and get all these greens up to their full capacity. We do expect there to be some deterioration every winter due to the harsh Swedish winters that we get here. But we now feel we're in a good place that we'll always see a gradual improvement. I believe that by June 2017, we will have great greens here at Hills.